Hello and welcome to Trinity Tuesday. My name is Cherie Hudson and thank you for joining me. I am really excited about today's session because I will get into the whole concept of thoughts. So my background is I have a bachelor's in human relations as well as a master's in leadership. And throughout my tenure of rolling out leadership development experiences and coaching opportunities, I have discovered three qualities that really bubbled up, and they're inspiration, integrity, and influence. We have definitely been on a series of videos that I have been sharing with you, and very excited to provide many more going forward. Let's go ahead and get into the PowerPoint presentation for today's session. And we're definitely going to really dissect thoughts, words, and actions. I will definitely do a recap too as well, so that we can see where we were, what information I provided, just in case if you have not gotten on the website and looked at any of the other videos. So definitely want to recap and then get into the meat of today's Trinity Tuesday. So here we go. So pouring the foundation that we have gotten to where we are so far, as I mentioned, we took a look at inspiration. These are the building blocks, and inspiration deals with how does an inspirational leader get through adversity? How do they look at possibilities? And what about people resonating with them? So I do break these down in the other videos. I won't take too much time today on it, but I'll just do a recap. So integrity. So under this particular quality, what we found were the behaviors of congruency, looking at viewpoints and being vulnerable. And a leader who has influence is someone that is very outward focused. They're looking at building the success of the people around them. And also they are taking a look, and I got this little ad coming up there. And so also in influence, we looked at emotional intelligence as well as continuous learning, but continuous learning that really has to do with self-study and examination rather than coming from a textbook. So in the trilogy of spiritual leadership, in regards to inspiration and integrity, as well as influence, I've connected them to our thoughts, words, and actions. Now, inspiration, so the word inspire comes from to breathe in, right? And so that is like the essence of who we truly are in regards to breath. As a matter of fact, when Hawaiian people meet each other, they kind of breathe in the essence of the spirit of who we are, who the person truly is. And so that, since it's from a very deep within ourselves and a very internal combustion, so those are our thoughts. They definitely align with the quality of inspiration. Words, absolutely. With integrity, there's truly an alignment there. There's definitely congruency, because what we say and what we do, when they match, that is someone who is in integrity. And then our actions are the influence, how we are impressing upon the world, and what the world thinks about who we truly are. So this is where action comes in. And as I mentioned in the last video, we're going to focus on thoughts and really take a look at it. We defined what thoughts are, where do they come from, and definitely they are in our nerve cells. They're impressed upon us through our lifetime, and what gets created and generated from all of these experiences and filters is an energetic electrical field. And of course it becomes energy. Our thoughts definitely do, and they're governed by the rules of quantum mechanics, which I find to be very fascinating. So as we take a look at our thoughts, if we're looking to change it, why do we need to change it? Well, I think it's important. If you're taking a look at our thoughts and it is an electrical field, then what are we generating? And is that something that we truly want to generate into this world? So I wanted to take a real deep look at our thoughts. And we kind of broke it down with nonviolence in regards to it's not physical, it is deeper than that. The other element of looking at our thoughts is purity. And I talked about it before, where it's truly a process. It's not like we're put into this sainthood. It is a process of cleaning ourselves just like we do on a daily basis when we take a shower. Self-study was another element of thoughts that also go along with inspiration. And again, it's a deep examination of who we are, and surrender, not giving up, giving into. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be taking each one of these and really, really diving deep to the true essence of our spiritual and our leadership self. So today, in this Trinity Tuesday, I am covering nonviolence. And, some people say, well, as I mentioned, don't hurt anybody. I've never hit anyone. I've never, harmed anyone. And what's interesting is when we take a look at nonviolence, I'm going to ask us to really take a very deep look at it is not violence. It is our thoughts. What do we say to ourselves? And sometimes the things that we say to ourselves are cruel and inhumane. And then you might think, well, it's not hurting anybody. Well, it is. It's ourselves are what is in our souls and our bodies. And it's like, it's taking in this information. And if we are having thoughts that are harming ourselves in some way, and I'm not saying physically, but things like, oh, that is so stupid, or why I was so ridiculous, or why did I fall in love with that person, or, oh, nobody's going to like this, or I'm going to send this off and I know it's not going to work, but I'm going to do it anyway, right? All of that is against yourself. And maybe looking at it from that lens. Your thoughts, if they're against you, that is not of your highest and greatest good. Because as you are continuously on this mouse on a wheel syndrome, thinking those same thoughts over and over and over again, then it is definitely damaging and destroying your confidence, damaging and destroying, things that are possible to look at and to see or to be open to. So it's breaking through limiting beliefs about yourself. And that's the thing that's really essential. So if you are saying, well, what is she talking about? And you're not speaking it, that's the voice that I'm speaking to. That's the one in your thoughts, and examining that thought and asking yourself, what if I am open to listening to this? What if I am open to look at my thoughts on a daily basis and a moment by moment basis, and even maybe writing down some of the things that I say to myself, and maybe look at it in a different way. If I say that I am stupid or I am not smart, then turn it around and come up with phrases that I can say, I am smart, I am intelligent, I am a genius, and I am applying my wisdom. I love that. I heard that from another facilitator, and it is absolutely profound. And the more that you build that into your thought process, the more that you bring that forward, that is where the magic happens. That's when you start to see things in your life shift in different ways that are so powerful, so magical. Miracles happen. And so let's stop the violence against ourselves. And even the thoughts, like if you're driving down the road and there's a thought that comes up about, oh, this type of person doesn't know how to drive, or, this person is out to get me, they cut me off, or, whatever. Even those little thoughts that you might think that they're not a big deal, it stays in your cellular level. that is an electrical field. And the more that we can break through, and when it comes up, don't beat yourself up about it. Just go, okay, well, that thought doesn't serve me anymore. Let me shift it to a different thought. Maybe they have the runs and need to go use the restroom, and that's why they cut me off and skipped 4 lanes and took the exit. You know, we just never know what's going on for people. Never know if they got a call that they just found out that somebody had been in a horrible accident. And, you know, there's a lot of tragedies that are going on. And so how do we be sensitive to ourselves and nonviolent in our thoughts? So definitely non-physical. Where do our thoughts come from? Oh, you know, it's so interesting because there are times, not all the time, however, some of our thoughts come from our childhood. You know, there could have been a situation like you're at a dance and you ask a girl to dance and she says no. And, you know, you feel all heartbroken, and then you start creating this imaginary scenario when maybe, you know, she had hurt her foot and she couldn't dance, or she didn't feel good, or, you know, there's so many other things behind of it, but yet we make a decision at that moment of that situation that can go through the rest of our lives thinking about that, or bringing it from that childhood to our adulthood. And so where do our thoughts come from? They could come from parents, they could come from siblings, they could come from other children, they could come from so many different areas and paths that, you know, we are just bombarded. And how do we get through this? You know, I'll talk a little bit about how we can get through some of these thought processes. And one of the things that I want to share, like when I was growing up, my brothers were pretty cruel, and like my nickname was the hippopotamus, right? Hippo, you know, I'm hippo and all this stuff. Well, it really devastated me. And so I made a decision, and I actually got into some eating disorders. I just recently wrote an article for Best Self magazine that talked about these eating disorders and the process that I went through to get to the other side. Right now, I'm doing bodybuilding competitions. I help other people, you know, create the best version of themselves. So I've taken that situation and I transmuted it into something that is a blessing, not only for myself, but for other people. But it does come from our childhood. It does come from other people. And it can not necessarily only be from our childhood. It can even be something that may have happened the other day that boom, instantly we made a decision, and that keeps going on, and that thought keeps manifesting and going through our heads over and over and over and over and over again. So how do we get off the merry-go-round? How do we get off the carousel? What are some things that we can do? And I'll wrap it up sharing that. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is courageously seeking all the dark parts of us, and to be very vigilant and saying, you know what, in my thought process, I've said, you know, whatever I've said, but be kind to yourself, examine it, take a look at it, and ask yourself, is this thought of my highest and greatest good? If it is, great, keep it, work with it. If this no longer serves you, stop. Maybe in your mind's eye, when that thought process starts to go down that rabbit hole, see a big stop sign, and all you see is a stop sign. And have yourself, and this is the beautiful part, and also I would say that takes the biggest work to do, is having self-discipline on our thoughts. And at the same time, being rigorous in our self-discipline, being tender with ourselves too. If we fall off, get back on. It's okay. Keep moving forward. Let's take a look at a thought that does serve us to our highest and greatest good. And let's throw away, let's see the stop sign. Let's move away from those thoughts that no longer serve us. I remember, and I'll share this with you, the whole idea of what is called a self-fulfilling prophecy. And sometimes as I worked in big corporations, there were managers that when they got an employee that came in their team, they of course went to the other manager. And if the other manager had talked negatively about this employee, then the new manager will act in a way to actually prove that this employee was not a good employee. They become micromanaging. The manager does, the new manager becomes micromanaging because now they feel like they can't trust them. And so the employee responds in the way that they get treated. So, really taking a look, if we are being fed things and put into our psyche and in our thoughts, let's be open and expansive and become with neutral energy into the relationship, into the experience, because what our relationships are not all alike. They're very, very complex, very complex. Even to make another point on this, I had a manager when I was teaching classes, and whenever I got ready or prepared for the class, I've got a list of the attendees, and he would go through the attendees and say, oh, that person is this, that, and the other thing, and this person is this, that, and the other thing, and this person, oh, you got to watch out for them. And it got to the point where I just had to say, please stop, because I don't want to go into the classroom and facilitate and have any of those filters coming forward, or beliefs that really do not serve myself and the attendee. So be vigilant with your thoughts. Just take a moment and just examine them, whether you're on the road, whether you're talking to family members, whether you're talking to someone professionally, whether it's your boss, your colleague, or a direct report. What are we thinking? What is actually going on within us? And is it in our highest and greatest good, or does it no longer serve us? One of the things that I wanted to share with you, especially with the voice in our heads that kind of beats us up, and if you're asking yourself, what voice is she talking about? That's the one that I'm talking about right there. So I want to get to something that I called crowned joy moments. And what I want you to consider is look at your life, and where is it in your life that you have a joy moment? Like you were on top of the world. This was like the best of the best. Like this is the moment that defined your life in some way. For me, it was being in the 7th grade. I was teased very, very harshly. And one of my joy moments was actually competing in a speech competition. And I studied the work. It was Walt Whitman, Oh Captain, My Captain. And we had to present it and kind of get into it and act it out a little bit. And I was on top of the world. I prepared myself. I studied. I not only looked over the poem, Oh Captain, My Captain, I read up about Walt Whitman and how do I bring it forward and how do I bring it to this moment. And when I delivered that piece, and at the end, you could not hear a pin drop. And I knew that was a defining moment for myself, because that's where I wanted to do public speaking. That's where I wanted to be a speaker, a renowned speaker, and to speak about topics and to do the work that I'm doing. So go back to those crown joy moments and think about them. So when the hammer is used up against yourself and you keep beating yourself up with something that has happened or some belief that's limiting, throw that hammer away, look at your crown joy moment, and just fully embrace it. So I wanted to share that with you. In our next session, we're going to take a look at purity. Oops, we're going to look at purity. I made a mistake. I have nonviolence still up there. So we're going to take a look at purity, actually. And I'm really excited about that. And so if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, I want to thank you so very much. And please share this. And I would love to get other subscribers on here and also onto our website. And you're more than welcome to email me at trinityofi.com. And so I look forward to our next Trinity Tuesday. And that will be every other week that we're doing these little vignettes. And we will talk about purity. For now, have a great Trinity Tuesday, and we'll see you then.